Skid Row.
We come here once a month, the Lowell Edward Band, and my bandmates, we've been doing this for I've been doing it at least for about 5 years.
On this chilly Friday evening, about 300 men and women listened to the band play inside the chapel at the Los Angeles Mission. A few people in the crowd nod off, but others dance and wave their hands in approval.
We found it to be just an uplifting thing, not only for the folks here, but for us too.
The Mission offers religious services like this 6 days a week in both English and Spanish.
Normally we have traditional speakers like pastors who come, and occasionally we do have music, and they look forward to that. It's a little different. It kind of break it up a little bit, you know. And with the music, we're still gilding the word, you know.
All devout Christians, the band members say they are committed to helping those that others have forgotten.
We go to the prisons, and so we've done all the juvenile halls, and before it used to be called the youth authorities, and so we played all in Los Angeles, all the different counties, and we've done some up north and some south.
As the band takes a short break, a member of the group ministers to the crowd.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Amen.
The goal of the ministry and the music is to let the audience know that life can get better.
It lifts their spirits, and we hope to plant some words of encouragement for them. That's the key.
For this performance, a total of 6 people play in the band, including fellow city worker David Chow from the Department of Aging. And while they all have busy schedules, Calvin says they make time to visit the homeless.
It's a calling for us. We believe that this is our place. All of us are full-time, working in full-time jobs. A number of us are pastors or worship leaders. But when we come on a Friday night, I think you really meet people where they're needed. This is where it's needed. So that's why we come.
And as the band plays, some of the problems here on Skid Row seem to briefly fade away. In downtown Los Angeles, I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The Mission offers guests 15 day bed tickets. After that, they can reapply for an extension. If no beds are available, they are referred to other shelters. The Mission also offers a separate 2-year drug treatment and job training program. Well, the LA Zoo transforms into Jurassic World with moving, roaring, robotic dinosaurs walking among us. Gil Reyes was there when these animatronic mammoths emerged.
It had trouble getting out of the truck, but the most humongous of these fierce-looking robots has finally arrived at your Los Angeles Zoo. A 22-foot-long, 6,700-pound Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of the dinosaurs.
Lifelike, life-size, teeth-bearing, roaring, snarling.
They have invaded for the opening of a new exhibit entitled Dinosaurs Unextinct at the LA Zoo. Visitors will be able to see how these magnificent creatures roamed the planet millions upon millions of years ago. That's because all 17 robots are animatronic, with ranges of motion that experts believe are how the real creatures actually moved.
We've got cylinders at the joints where we want movement, and we pump air through the system, and it'll turn the heads left and right, bodies up and down, mouths open, close, eyes moving left and right. And then we've got little computer brains that give the sound as well.
Two of the dinosaurs, a Dilophosaurus and her baby, actually spit water, so expect to get wet when they wake up.
It's perfect for the hot months. The parents may not, want to get spit on too much, but the kids will absolutely love it.
Crews unloaded the rest of the dinos that will sprawl over 2 acres at the zoo's southern end. The walking tour will take a half hour to complete. Other highlights include one dinosaur that visitors will be able to move by remote control, and lessons about endangered animals.
And it leads out right into our California Condor Rescue Zone, so it's a perfect tie-in to show what the zoo, the LA Zoo, does for to protect endangered species.
So take the family to the LA Zoo for a fun-filled Yabba Dabba due time. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The LA Zoo's Jurassic exhibit is open now. Well, enjoy a music festival without the hefty price tag, help maintain one of LA's most popular nature preserves, and an Earth exhibit showcases some incredible sights in our own backyard. All this in this week's Things to Do. Join the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy to celebrate Earth Day at the White Point Nature Preserve in San Pedro. Families are invited to participate by helping to beautify the native plant garden and trails. Take a hike with rangers through the preserve and enjoy a special art project with the PV Art Center and more. Enjoy nature-inspired art activities and get expert tips on backyard birding. All this takes place on Saturday, April 23rd from 9 to 2 p.m. For more information, visit pvplc.org. For the second consecutive year, the G2 Gallery, El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument, and Western National Parks Association have collaborated for an Earth Month photography exhibit called Earth Month Los Angeles 2016. Earth Month Los Angeles, housed in the heart of downtown LA, hopes to raise awareness about the variety of public lands accessible to urban residents just outside the city. The exhibit is on display now through May 1st at the El Tranquilo Gallery at 634 North Main Street. For details, visit theg2gallery.com. Formerly known as Brochella, Broke LA is the rebirth of LA's favorite Little Big Festival. Now in its 6th year, the event is a showcase of the best music, art, tech, food, and vendors from LA and beyond. The festival has grown from 200 attendees to over 5,000 and features indie, hip-hop, DJ, and comedy acts culled from an open submissions process. In the group's commitment to the community, ticket and drink prices have maintained competitively low, despite a fluctuating economy. This year's event takes place Saturday, April 23rd. For more, visit BrokeLAFest.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
It all started that one day. I knew then my destiny. To have a career where I can achieve my best, where every day is different, where lifelong friendships are made, where I'm saving lives and inspiring others. My name is Mackenzie Vandergeest, and I am a Los Angeles firefighter.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 20th. Wednesday, April 20th. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to City Hall, to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Clerk, we do have a quorum. Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bona, Buscaino, Sedillo, Engler, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Perez, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
O'Farrell moves, Martinez seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Harris Dawson moves, Bonin seconds. Next.
Mr. President, items 1 and 2 are items noticed for public hearing. Sir, we do have cards on both items.
Then let's hold those items and move on.
Very good, sir. Items 3 through 22 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 5, 6, 10, 11, and 12 have been submitted and circulated for council's consideration.
Thank you very much. Specials, members, I do not see any specials. Items 3 through Ms. Martinez.
Can I call item 18 special, Mr. President?
Item 18, let's hold that. Any other specials? 3 through 22. I don't see any. Let's prepare to vote. Mr. Clerk, yes. Mr. Bonnet?
I wanted to continue item number 6 for 2 weeks.
And that would bring us to May 4, sir.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order on that. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And Mr. President, that ordinance will go over to May 3 unless reconsidered later today with 12 members.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue.
Items 23 through 33 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Do we have cards?
Yes, sir, we do. We have cards on 25, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33.
Let's hold those items and prepare. Mr. Cedillo.
Item 33 special, please.
33. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That brings us where? Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Items 34 and 35 are items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
I think I'll defer to Mr. Krikorian.
I need a minute.
Okay, well, why don't we hold them for right now? And so let's continue. That would bring us where?
Mr. President, that brings council back to presentations or items called special.
Hey, Mr. Buscaino, didn't you have an intro?
Yes, I do, if I can. Jimmy, bring me back.
So I'd like to defer to Mr. Buscaino at this point.
Thank you. Ambassador, come right up, please. Thank you, sir. Quickly, if I may, Mr. President, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the LA City Council chambers Ambassador Ho Xuan Sun, Consul General of Vietnam, based out of San Francisco. Let's give him a warm welcome here to the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much. He was appointed by Deputy Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs Pham Binh Minh as Consul General of Vietnam in San Francisco in March 2016, a distinguished career in foreign affairs. In his diplomatic career, Ambassador has been conferred by many awards of high distinction, namely the Third Class Labor Order in 2011 for outstanding contributions in the land border issues between Vietnam and China, contributing to the cause of socialism building and national safeguarding. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you, Ambassador. On behalf of the entire City Council, the Council President, and the Mayor Garcetti, we extend our warm wishes and our open arms and welcome you here in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stop right here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, we do have 12 members at this time, so we should reconsider the items. If you'd identify them, I'll call on a vote of reconsideration.
Yes, sir. Those items that have ordinances are as follows. Item 3, 23, 24, 26, 27, and 28.
Okay, so let's, the first vote will be on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now we will actually vote on the items. Let's again open up the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, we were, as before we begin our presentations, I want to take up a couple of items. Mr. Previn, are you here? I'm going to take up item 32, so if Mr. Previn is here, please come to the center aisle, sir. We're going to take up item 32.
Thank you, Council President Wesson. It is Eric Previn from CD2, and we very much appreciate it's 32 today, right? This is the Weezer and Rue motion for a multicultural internship program here at City Hall. And I think it sounds great. It's an undergraduate summer internship program, and the good news is we've got $5,000 from the Getty Foundation to help sponsor that. And I just think, you know, internships here at City Hall are so important, and I would ask that the council provide whoever is chosen, and I assume it will be more than one intern, though the $5,000 probably is for the reception at the beginning and in the end of the year. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's great, and I think that Justin Wesson is really to be commended for putting this kind of a thing on the agenda. Now, you may, it's possible, it's not clear, hear jokes about interns because historically everybody knows that interns, you know, the Clinton story, and everybody has been around that. And typically it's good in this environment for Justin to get going kind of raucous stuff so you can play the role of commandant and shutting it down and throwing people out.
Just
so
stay
I would
on
just
the
like to
subject.
say thank you for putting it on the agenda when we have so many things in our city that are important. A $5,000 summer multicultural internship program, sir, it hits the spot. I would just say thank you so much, and thank you to Justin and
No,
Andrew
you're off
Westall.
the subject.
No,
So
they put it together, and thanks again.
let's vote on this now. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And, Mr. President, there's been a request to send that item forthwith.
Okay, without objection. You know, let's deal, I believe, and we'll check with Mr. Krikorian, I believe we can do the closed session items in open session, but let me defer to him quickly. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. President. Both items 34 and 35 have been considered by Budget and Finance. Recommend approval of the City Attorney's recommendations, and those can be dealt with in open session unless members have questions or concerns.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, would you read those items so we can take action?
Very good, sir. For item 34, in the case entitled Tara McMahon versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $750,000 in settlement. And for item 35, in the case entitled AIG Property Casualty Company versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $300,000 in settlement.
Okay, so there are no speakers on the queue. Let's prepare to vote on these items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's go to item 25. Mr. Zumadog, I saw him earlier. Are you? Oh, I see you. We're going to do item 25. Just take your time. Come on down. Yes, sir.
Yes, there's a Zumadog, Z-U-M-A-D-O-G-G, Zumadog.com for more. Now, I'd like to address this issue. There's a whole bunch of them on the agenda today, and it's consideration for collecting money for maintenance in the area. It's kind of like a bid, it seems like to me. Now, the city is getting into a habit of coming for more money from business to provide the basic services that you were supposed to be providing. I would like to know what happened to the money. I've been coming here exactly 10 years this month, and you have bigs. Now, this Bureau of Street Lighting, I've been trying to find the item here. Okay, it says right here, establish a hearing date. They want to collect money to provide the services. They're going to collect money annually that'll go for maintenance. Why are you collecting money for maintenance when your municipality is supposed to provide these basic services?
Thank you, sir. Let's prepare to vote on that item. I got you. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
At this time, I'd like to defer to Mr. Krikorian for a very important presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, I'm so proud to be able to stand before you again this year as our City Council once again acknowledges the anniversary of the beginning of one of the worst crimes against humanity ever committed in the history of the modern world, the Armenian Genocide. And as proud as I am that this city every year steadfastly gives recognition of that crime, I have to admit to you, I struggle every year to come up and speak about it, because I struggle to try to find words that will capture the degree of the crime. Very often when we think about the most significant atrocities in history, we can get caught up in the dry statistics that makes this difficult for the human mind to really fully acknowledge and understand the magnitude of the crime. When we think about the Holocaust, sometimes it's very difficult to even conceive of what 6 million Jews lost in the Holocaust can possibly mean. But when we think about Anne Frank, or we think about a little girl in a pink dress in Schindler's List, or when we think about an elderly person who comes to speak at a school with a number still tattooed on their arm, we begin to connect in a personal way to that atrocity in a way that numbers alone won't do justice to. So I'm going to try again to try to capture some of the essence of why continuing to remember the Armenian Genocide matters to all of us, Armenians and non-Armenians alike. So I'd like to take you through a scenario. Imagine for a moment a beautiful, sunny day in Los Angeles. And picture in your mind the Rose Bowl. Picture the Rose Bowl packed with fans there to see a football game or a soccer game. Families, mothers, fathers, children, groups of friends there to enjoy a beautiful day at the Rose Bowl. Now imagine that an order comes down from Washington that troops should surround the Rose Bowl. And as the fans emerge from that game, that those fans should be decapitated, that babies should be taken from the arms of their mothers and hurled to the ground, that women and girls should be repeatedly raped, that elderly men who were just moments ago enjoying that game, enjoying life as it always was, would be beaten in the parking lot until they die. So imagine that, an entire stadium full of people enduring those sorts of atrocities. Now imagine that the soldiers who committed those crimes stole all the cars in the parking lot, drove to the homes of the victims, changed the property records so that they could move their families into those homes. Now, imagine, if you can, the savagery of such a thing. Imagine, if you can, what the global reaction would be to such a thing. The horror that would be experienced in every nation around the world as CNN covered this. Imagine the grief and the outrage that people in every civilized country of the world would feel when they heard about that, just as we do when we hear about terrorism, acts of terrorism today. Imagine that, though, 100,000 people in the Rose Bowl. Imagine the loss of human potential of every one of those lives that were snuffed out, the children, what they would have gone on to accomplish, the couples, and how much more they would have experienced in loving each other for the rest of their life. The parents and what they would have experienced taking care of their elders and their family, or helping their children be raised. Think of that loss of human potential. Now multiply that 15 times. And imagine that experience happening 15 times. And then you can begin to have a sense of what the Armenian genocide means, not just to the Armenian community, but to the world. This is perhaps the worst crime against humanity in modern world history that continues to be denied completely by the perpetrators of that crime, and that continues to lack even an iota of justice against the perpetrators of that crime. The Armenian people, of course, were decimated by that experience, and yet they emerged from that horror, in some respects, strengthened, in the same way that steel is strengthened when it's forged in fire. And as you all know, and as you see by the leaders of our community who are standing here with me today, the Armenian people have contributed immeasurably to the fabric of Los Angeles for more than a century now. This city, as it always has been, was a beacon of hope. It was a place of refuge for the survivors, and it continues to be to the families of survivors who've been scattered around the diaspora, and as they continue to experience violence, and as they continue to experience oppression, as they continue to experience horrors in their homelands, they still, even today, find Los Angeles as their place of refuge and their beacon of hope. And these survivors have done so much for our city. And we as a community, we're proud of that. We're proud of what we've contributed to Los Angeles. But let me tell you, on behalf of all of the leaders who are standing here, let me also thank all of you and our city, because we are also very proud of Los Angeles. We're proud that we live in a city that's always recognized that our loss is humanity's loss. We're proud that we live in a city that understands that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and that justice too long delayed is justice denied. So this week is the conclusion of the centennial year of the genocide. And this has been a remarkable year, thanks to the effort that many of you have contributed, and that our city family has contributed, and that certainly all the people who are standing with me today. This has been a remarkable year of remembrance and of solidarity. And I want to just kind of review the last year. We had an exhibit in the Central Library downtown called America, We Thank You, that talked about Near East relief, the first major American foreign philanthropic effort to save a people who were suffering. That was Near East relief, when Americans in Los Angeles came to the aid of Armenians around the world, and Greeks and others who were suffering atrocities and suffering starvation. And Los Angeles responded to that call. We had an exhibit in the Central Library to celebrate the contributions that Los Angeles made to that effort. Here in this council chamber, we had a centennial art contest, and those of you may remember the young people who contributed their heart and soul to that effort, and we were proud to put their work up on city buses that went around the city. Just last week, we completed the planting in every one of your districts of a total of 100 pomegranate trees, a pomegranate tree for each year of that centennial remembrance. Pomegranates being the symbol of life and survival and a national symbol of the Armenian people. There are now 100 pomegranate trees in every corner of the city as a living remembrance to the victims and a reminder of the lessons of the genocide for those of us who continue to struggle against discrimination even today. We conducted a book drive to donate books for the city's library, and that book drive will conclude at the end of this month. And thanks to the efforts of Mr. O'Farrell and his team in Hollywood, there is now a permanent Armenian Genocide Memorial Square, which everyone who passes through that square will have an opportunity to consider the lessons of the genocide and how that impacts us today. And perhaps most important of all, on April 24th last year, 160,000 Angelenos, Armenians, non-Armenians, people of every race, people of every religion, joined together in solidarity, arm in arm, and walked 6 miles through the streets of this city in a remarkable demonstration of solidarity, in a remarkable demand for justice, a remarkable lesson about why the lessons of this genocide continue to resonate in people's souls even now today. And so before we go any further, I would like to take just a minute to show you a video of some of those accomplishments that this city achieved and the march over the last centennial year.
From the air, a river of people stretched for blocks along Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood during what's been called the March for Justice. The crowd grew during the 6-mile demonstration with people like Steve Lassararian, who pulled his kids out of school in Irvine today so they could attend.
And we just want recognition and the word genocide to be accepted throughout.
He's talking about the 100-year anniversary of the massacre of Armenians.
To make a personal commitment to fight against genocide, to fight against atrocities, wherever they happen, whenever they happen, anywhere in this world, no matter what the color of the skin of the victims. And if you do those things, and if you make that personal commitment, then today we will have achieved our victory. Today will not only be a day where we mourn death, it will be a day where we celebrate our resurrection and our continuing life and victory over genocide. Thank you all very much. I want to thank all of you members who participated in the march and all of you in the city family that made that day possible. This was the second largest march in the city's history for this event. And so it couldn't have happened without the contribution of so many people who worked for this city and saw the importance of it, and so many of the organizations that are surrounding me today. And I want to acknowledge the presence here of the entire leadership of the Armenian community who all contributed to that effort in this centennial year. We're going to have certificates in the back because there's a lot, but I do want to acknowledge the representatives of the Armenian Relief Society, the representatives of the Armenian Council of America, of the Social Democrat Liberal Party, of the Armenian National Committee of America, of the Armenian General Benevolent Union and the Armenian Assembly of America, the Armenian Bar Association, the Armenian Revolutionary Federation, the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church, and the Western Prelacy of the Armenian Church, as well as other members of the Armenian Protestant Church and the Armenian Catholic Church, all of whom made that possible. And so I want to thank all of you for being with us today, and thank you for the efforts that you've made for all of the people of Los Angeles in making this centennial year such a great success. I do want to take a moment, too, to acknowledge some special city employees, because the fire department, the police department, the Department of Recreation and Parks, the Department of Transportation, and so many others contributed to this effort. But I do want to take just one moment to recognize a few people who went above and beyond the call of duty. And I'm not sure, because we have a big crowd here, I'm not sure who's here. But I want to start with Aram Sahakian, the legendary Aram Sahakian, who makes so much happen for the Department of Transportation. Aram, congratulations and thank you. And think of that, 160,000 people in the streets. Think of the street closures. Think of the, public safety issues that had to be taken into account. And, not a single incident. I mean, 160,000 people, that's almost the size of the city of Glendale. And yet there was not a single serious incident that happens, and that was because of the work of our city employees. I also want to recognize Armin Kamishian. Is Armin here? Armin? Congratulations. As well as Carrie Derderian, Vladimir Campos, and of course Assistant Chief Grimala, who was such a great help that day as well. So thank you all to our city employees. Now, I just want to close with two other things, members. First, we can continue this effort next on April 24th if you will join us at the Rally for Justice. This is a continuation of what we started last year on April 24th at 1 p.m. If those of you who would like to join us at the Rally for Justice in front of the Turkish Consulate at Wilshire Boulevard and Crescent Heights, this will be a massive gathering, and we'd love to have you all there. And I also would like to finally close with one other thing. The lessons of the genocide are important to all of us. And as I started in explaining, they're difficult to embrace unless you are personally immersed in it. And I want to give you another opportunity to be personally immersed in it. A great leader named Sonia Arakelian is one of the leaders and curators in Mexico City of the Museo de Memoria y Tolerancia. And Mexico being a sister city of ours, I was very proud to be able to meet Sonia in Mexico City, where she has created a magnificent museum exhibit dedicated to the Armenian genocide. And it is now here in Los Angeles. So between now and June 11th, you'll step on up. Between now and June 11th, if you would, I would really encourage you to come and see Armenia: An Open Wound at the Brand Library and Art Center. And I want to thank and welcome Sonia Arakelian. Sonia?
Buenos dias. This is an honor for me, our two cities together in this project. Museo Memoria y Tolerancia last year decided to make a temporary exhibition in commemoration of the Armenian genocide. The exhibition was a great success. More than 70,000 people visited this exhibit, and we decided to go abroad with this exhibition and found a wonderful group in Los Angeles from the new Armenian American Museum, the Brand Library in Glendale. It has been open on Saturday, and we hope that it's as successful as it was in Mexico, giving many, not only the Armenians, everybody else, the opportunity to learn the history about the Armenians and the Armenian genocide. Thank you very much, y muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Sonia. And on behalf of the people of Los Angeles, I want to present you with a certificate of recognition and thanks as well for bringing these lessons to us here in Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Felicidades.
Mr. Krikorian, I do have a couple of members that would like to say a word. I will start by acknowledging or calling on Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I just wanted to say that we're all so proud of our relationship with the Armenian community, and we strongly support your efforts to gain recognition for the genocide 100 years later. It's hard for me to believe that we actually have reached this point so many years and still no recognition. I first became aware of this issue, as some of you know, when I took a class at UCLA, a 3-quarter class on the history of the Ottoman Empire. And my professor was the one person that had access to the Turkish archives. And so he taught us, I believe, some very accurate information in the first 2 quarters, but I think he had to sell his soul for that access. And in the 3rd quarter, we found that he was a genocide denier and denied anything close to the Armenian genocide and any responsibility for the Turks and the Ottomans didn't exist. And for me, well, certainly I think virtually everyone in that class was outraged by the end, and we recognized, why was he teaching about something that didn't exist? It was really because he was just trying to deny it and cover it up. Amazingly, 40 years later, still nothing has really happened. And I think we can't give up, and we have to do whatever we can to recognize it. And I believe in my lifetime we will resolve this issue. But there's a lot more anger, I believe, around this genocide than there was around the Holocaust. Because while the act itself was at least as horrific, the fact is the German government recognizes it, the German government pays reparations, and they try to do whatever they can to make sure that it isn't repeated. That's not the case of the Turkish government and the Turkish people. And in fact, when I did legislation in 2002 to recognize all the genocides of the 20th century, there was no pushback around any of them except for the Armenian genocide. And I got thousands and thousands of emails from Turks all over the world saying that it had never happened. And I even got one from a friend of my late father, who was already deceased at the time, saying that if he knew what I was doing, he would have been very angry. And I was outraged, because I know if my father was alive, there was nothing he ever would have been more proud of than the legislation that I did on those genocides. So we aren't there yet. Amazingly, it's been 101 years, but we're not going to give up, and I believe the U.S. government at some point soon will finally force the recognition of this genocide. And I thank you all for being here.
Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to rise and really just acknowledge you, Mr. Krikorian, for making this whole entire issue much more relevant than it otherwise would be for the rest of us. Being your colleague on the City Council, I can't describe how much I've learned from you when you speak of the experience and of the issues and of the cause and of the reasons that we must never relent. It's so incredibly powerful, and I think it's because it comes from you in particular, with experience that your own family lived through. And I just want to say that at last year's march, what an incredibly transformative experience that was for anyone who participated in it. And I know that Ms. Martinez and I marched right next to each other from Sunset and Western to the Turkish consulate, and it was the most energizing, incredible experience that brought home for me in a way that otherwise would not have happened the absolute necessity that these events, the yearly March for Justice, must serve as a constant reminder in this sometimes complacent world when several governments, including our own, refuse to officially acknowledge that the genocide occurred, and the determination that until we fully recognize the facts, there will not ever really be healing. There will not really ever be closure, and that's what this is all about. So that we need to have the ability to personalize this so that we can carry on and be soldiers for justice along with everyone else who has lived it and survived it and has transcended this experience. So I just want to rise and just pay homage to you for all that you're doing in this, on this issue. And I look very forward to participating again this Sunday. It'll be another great day in Los Angeles and a great day to illuminate the need for justice across the world. Thank you.
Mr. Bloomingfield.
Just wanted to add my voice and look forward to Sunday. I was moved by the march and especially moved when we went to Armenia, I guess it's 2 years ago now, and going to the Genocide Museum in Yerevan. There's nothing like it. It just tears at your soul. And the deniers, you know, there's no place for that anymore. And what's so important about what we're doing today and the efforts that you're leading here in Los Angeles is that, like many great ideas that start in LA and move through California and the winds blow from the west to the east, not accepting or not tolerating the deniers is an idea that needs to happen, and we are creating the groundswell for it. You are creating the groundswell for it here in Los Angeles, and I'm proud and humbled to be a part of it and to be part of this great city council that stands up and stands strong with that effort. Thank you.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, members, very much for your time. We all look forward to seeing you on April 24th on Wilshire Boulevard. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause. Very tastefully done. As they are exiting, Mr. Huizar, you may want to prepare.
You guys want to come on up here? All right. Thank you. So good to see you. Good to see you too. You too, as always. You good? Yeah, doing good. How are you? You're the short one in the group, huh? Yeah. Good. How are you, man? Good to see you. Is Richard Blade, and who else is coming up here?
It's Richard Blade, right?
Yeah, he's speaking. Tell him.
Where did we get everybody?
Yeah, the folks where they want to. So, however you guys want, whatever you guys want to do.
We were just going to be the other ones. Yes, Richard.
Yeah. He's speaking, huh?
Yeah.
How are you? Good to meet you. You're going to speak, right? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Come on in. Well, good morning, Mr. President. And before I make the next presentation, I certainly want to acknowledge the Armenian genocide and that we shall never forget those atrocities that have happened in one part of the world, but certainly affect us all. And here in Los Angeles, as we consider ourselves one of the most diverse cities in the world, that we have people from all over the world here, it is very fitting that we continue to acknowledge the atrocities that have happened throughout the world, so that we should never repeat them. So I want to give a huge thank you to Mr. Krikorian for the work he has done in that to inform and educate all of us. I certainly have learned a lot as well, as Mr. O'Farrell stated. So thank you very much, Mr. President. And Mr. President, I think you are as excited as I am today to welcome Oingo Boingo to these council chambers. And we certainly want to welcome their fans. Any fans in here today for Oingo Boingo? It gives me great pleasure to welcome into council chambers several members of Oingo Boingo. I want to welcome Johnny Vatos Hernandez. Welcome, Johnny. John Avila. Sam Sluggo Phipps. Carl Graves. Richard Gibbs. And unfortunately, in the last minute, Steve Bartek could not be with us. He said he really wanted to be here today, but he had a last-minute medical issue he had to attend to. And also, unfortunately, schedules changed for Danny Elfman, who is in China, but he wanted to send his wishes, and we wanted here in the city of Los Angeles to take this special moment to thank him and all of Oingo Boingo for the fun, the dancing, and all the great memories they gave us, especially in the 80s and 90s, right? Yeah. And we are fortunate to have with us today, many of you will recognize his name, a DJ who not only played many of the tunes we love to dance to. Richard Blade is with us today. Thank you, Richard Blade. And Fraser Smith. Is he here? Where is he? Fraser. Hello, Fraser. They came to support today's very special recognition, and we'll hear a little bit from Richard in just a moment. But first, a little history. Oingo Boingo is a Southern California band created by the Elfman brothers in 1972. Richard started the band, and Danny later took over. They began as the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. And while they changed their name, Oingo Boingo's sound evolved and developed over time, as all great artists do, and they created a unique style of music that really defined the Southern California musical sound of the 80s and 90s. Oingo Boingo was successful because they truly did march to the beat of their own drum. And yes? Some applause to that? That's right, I'll buy that. And certainly John Avatos kept the timing on there, right?
That's right.
Oingo Boingo mixed ska, punk, new wave, rock, funk into a completely unique sound that you instantly recognize because it was totally their own. Their performances were high on really incredible musicianship, energy, and plain old fun. If you were lucky enough to see Oingo Boingo in those early days, you certainly had a great time. When you heard their music, you knew it was time to get up and dance or just to jump around. And although the band officially retired with a magical Halloween show in 1995, several of the group members here today continue to play under the Oingo Boingo Dance Party name. And it is certainly not surprising that some of the members have gone on to work either together or separately on film and television scores. Oingo Boingo has always had a connection to cinema and theater. Oingo Boingo wanted to take us on a journey with each song and tell a great story. Songs like Weird Science, Dead Man's Party, Only a Lad, Little Girls, one of my favorites, Just Another Day, Stay, Nobody Lives Forever, Who Do You Want to Be, We Close Our Eyes, Private Life, Flesh and Blood, and many, many, many others. And so, well over 40 years after their founding, we here in the city of Los Angeles wanted to take a moment to thank them and recognize the influential Los Angeles-based band that helped define the music we listened to and the stories we told ourselves as young kids growing up here in Los Angeles and beyond in that era we call the 80s and 90s. Congratulations, Oingo Boingo, on the Oingo Boingo Day here in the city of Los Angeles. And now I'd like to ask Johnny Vatos, I like that name, Johnny Vatos Hernandez to share a few words. Johnny.
Wow. This is such an honor for us. I can't thank Jose Huizar and the City Council and everybody involved in this to get us here. It's, yeah, we were kind of a unique band, and it was really a lot of fun, and we always put the pedal to the metal. And after the band broke up, we did kind of blow up and go all kinds of directions. Danny's out, and, you know, he's making so much money today, he couldn't afford to be here today, you know. So, and all of us have always been involved and are still involved. Studio owners and playing all over the world with all kinds of different groups, touring Europe, you know, all over the place. So it's just such a great honor to be here, and I just cannot thank you enough. Since '95, it's been nuts, and it's still nuts. You know, the industry is a whole nother dynamic, and it's, you know, the only way you keep going in this business is if you're constantly reinventing yourself, and that's what Oingo Boingo was always known for, reinventing itself. So all these players have done nothing more than to just keep moving. And so it's great to acknowledge not only the band, but all the work that we've done since then. And thank you so very much. And it was great to have, we have honored to have Richard Blade here, one of our original DJs that played us on K-Rock. He's now famous on Sirius Radio, and he was the one that coined the band we've put together now, the Oingo Boingo Dance Party. And I get together as many guys as I can, and we supplement it with a couple other players, and we rip the house down. It's just amazing. It's snowballing, and along with Brendan McCrary at the helm, jumping around. All right, Brendan, who's glad to be here as part of the Armenian whole thing too. Our beautiful Armenian singer who was there at the walk last year, and will probably be there on Sunday. And anyway, it's a great band. It's so much fun. You have to come see it. We'll be playing in Long Beach at the Gas Lamp on May 7th, Cinco de Mama weekend. You know, because Mother's Day is so close, I had to call it Cinco de Mama. Anyway, thank you. What? Oh, yeah, and I want to say thanks again to Fraser Smith, who had us on KLOS the other night. He brought us all in. He wanted us to play, but when we showed up with a truck, he said, you better leave the instruments out. So he just interviewed us and had a great time. Fred Zermeno, thank you so much for all your work in pulling this together. Well, Boris, good to see you, man. Thank you very much. We have Mike Gormley, who's our manager with Boingo. There he is. For like 15 years and all that time. Anyway, thank you so very much. I can't thank the City Council and Jose Huizar enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most recognizable voices ever to hit the airwaves, and we are so lucky to have him here in Los Angeles for many, many years, Richard Blade.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And before I talk about Boingo, I just want to acknowledge Fraser Smith, because when I was first moving over here from England, I would listen to Fraser on the radio, and I would tape him on a 6-hour VHS so I could get his whole show, because he was such an inspiration to me. And I still think he is probably one of the most talented people, not just in Los Angeles radio, but in the history of radio, period. So, praise to you. Hats off. If anyone has a time machine or a TARDIS handy, I'd love to borrow it, because I'd like to go back and tell my 12-year-old self that one day I'd be standing at LA City Hall surrounded by such talent, because when I was 12 in England, I was listening to music coming out of Southern California from the Beach Boys and from the Doors, and I'd watch the Monkees on TV and say, this is the city I want to make my home. And I was able to do that, and I feel so privileged. And the fact that I became friends with some of the heirs to that music scene, Oingo Boingo, is amazing to me, because when I moved to Los Angeles and I discovered the vibrancy, not just of the city, but of the music scene and what was happening at Madwin Wong's West and at the Troubadour and the Roxy, I was just blown away. And then I got to hear the beats of Oingo Boingo. And it was the beats. Johnny Vatos?
Yes, sir.
It was the beats that got me first.
There
right?
you go.
My buddy Gary Kemp from Spandau Ballet would say Johnny Vatos is 4 to the floor. He just keeps the band going and powering through. And then when I went to KNAC before K-Rock, I was so proud to be able to play the 4-track EP from Oingo Boingo and put that music on, and just discover these great songs like Only a Lad and Little Girls. And suddenly I realized that this band was really a representation of what Los Angeles is. It's the cutting edge. It's something new. It's excitement, and it's a good time. And that really is the key to Oingo Boingo. If you went to any of their shows, if you were fortunate back in the day to catch Boingo live, you left A, exhausted, B, soaking wet from your own sweat, and C, you couldn't wait to go to Tower Records or Music Plus to pick up their latest album. This was a band to be reckoned with. And when I did my first television show, which was called MV3, the first band I said to the producer that we had to get on, despite the fact I was dating Terry Nunn from Berlin, my #1 choice for a band to get on was these guys, Oingo Boingo. And we put them on TV and showed them in 50 cities around the country, and we were just blown away at their presence. And over the years, I've been so privileged to work with them, to share the stage with them, and just to be in the audience when they've been playing, because they're that good. If anyone grew up here as a gay rock kid, they knew that a certain date would roll around every year, and that was Halloween. And as much a part of candy and costumes that Halloween's tradition is, the other tradition in Southern California was seeing these guys behind me, either at Irvine Meadows or Universal Amphitheater. When the tickets went on sale, it was how quick they could go. Today, I think even the computers would melt down. Back in the old days, it was Ticketmaster and it was churned out, and they would still sell out 3, 4, 5 nights in 20 minutes. And people just loved it. It was something you look forward to all year long. Oingo Boingo, Irvine Meadows. When I DJ private parties and they ask me to do 80s trivia, one of the questions I'll say is, what K-Rock band do you associate with Halloween? And I don't even get to say Ween because everyone's yelling Oingo Boingo. This group is a legend. Of course, they're known around the country for Weird Science and Dead Man's Party, but here in Southern California and Los Angeles, we know the depth of their music. We know how great it is. I DJ'd a wedding 2 years ago, and the first dance song they asked for was Not My Slave. I thought the parents were going to drop dead, but all the younger people there just loved it, and they partied. And since Oingo Boingo Dance Party's been on the scene, which Johnny and the guys have kept alive, it's made me absolutely thrilled to be able to see them again, because they recapture, and thanks to the great new lead singer as well, they recapture the spirit of Oingo Boingo that so many people thought had long gone. you go to a show with Johnny and the boys and you leave with that same smile that you had in 91, 92, 93, 94, and the bittersweet smile in 95 after their farewell shows. I cannot say how proud I am to stand here and say that it's long-awaited Oingo Boingo Day in Los Angeles. And of the two bands that I think most represent the world-famous K-Rock, one would be an English band and one would be an American band. The English band would be Depeche Mode. And standing shoulder to shoulder with Depeche Mode are these guys behind me from Los Angeles, Orange County, and Southern California. Oingo Boingo, the great band.
Well said, and what a treat to go back into that history, to have Richard Blade here to share that with us. And one more speaker from Oingo Boingo, my man.
Hello. As a native Angelino, I'm really thrilled to be here and see all these handsome and beautiful faces. And I just want to say John Hernandez, who is the drummer in Oingo Boingo Dance Party, is the reason that at this late age, we get to get on stage and make fools of ourselves. So I just want to thank John Hernandez, great drummer.
Mr. Weezer, I have a couple of members that'd like to say a word. And I'd like to call on Mr. Koretz, followed by Mr. O'Farrell.
Well, this is pretty amazing to see one of the most talented and creative and eclectic bands ever here in City Hall. I'm very excited. I just have one question. Do you think you'll ever get all the members that have ever been in Oingo Boingo together for a concert or two?
Ding dong.
Yeah. That always comes up. And that always comes up, and Steve Bartek and I have been kind of like hanging out in the woodshed, figuring how that would possibly work. And we know that Danny's a pedal to the metal guy. He'll never come back and probably play any of the old songs that the Boingo Dance Party is still playing. But Danny's the kind of guy that would write an album for us to do over lunch. So if it ever happened, it would be a completely different musical experience, or Danny won't be there. So anyway, that's the most encouraging word, and all we have to do is encourage him to do it. Write some more music and come back and play. That would be fun.
Well, if we have any way to help, we're certainly on board with that.
Send your letters to...
Mr. Koretz, we could pass an ordinance after this, right? We'll make it an LA law to get them back together. Require Danny Elfman to play with Oingo Boingo.
Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Weezer, thank you for bringing these incredible bands to City Hall. I mean, it really livens up the proceedings. Thank you. I just want to say I love Oingo Boingo so much. All through the 80s, one of my very favorite bands. And when you mentioned all their hit songs, you also mentioned the song Stay. That was my favorite song for about a year. I drove all of my neighbors crazy because I'd get home and I would blast it and dance to it every single day. It got me through a lot of rough times in the 1980s when I was a struggling young artist myself. So thank you, Oingo Boingo, for all these years of incredible joy that you give people. And Richard Blade, every single day I listen to Sirius Radio, First Wave, and you're on, and you, every day. I listen to two things as I'm driving Los Angeles. I listen to First Wave or the news. I switch back and forth, but it's always Richard Blade and First Wave. And you're making this music accessible to a whole new generation. And it is the sweet spot of American music, the 1980s and the new wave and the first wave and these great American bands. So it's just really a great moment to see all of you here. I lend my congratulations and my gratitude for all that you've given society and culture in Los Angeles and way, way, way beyond. Thank you and congratulations.
Mr. Weezer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And we have a little treat. They have agreed to do a little performance for us. So... Get ready.
So I remember the song we're going to play is called "We Close Our Eyes," and thank you. This was a very unusual tune because for 17 weeks it was #1 in Brazil, and they wrote it into a We Close Our Eyes. It was a song we did. It was #1 in Brazil for 17 weeks, and they wrote us into a novella. So when we showed up there for Rock in Rio, they actually had, they wrote us in, and we were in the middle of the thing. And so they came back, and the whole scene was they were at an Oingo Boingo concert. So for the first time ever in my life, I saw 40,000 people all clap in time. They all went, and I thought, this is so insane. They're in perfect time. And so you know what I did? Because I'm who I am, I stopped playing. Okay, I stopped playing for like 3 beats, and the whole band gave me one of these. And Danny looked at me, and I said, look at them. And they were all still clapping in time. Then we went back and started it together. Anyway, that's the song we're going to play for you right now. We Close Our Eyes.
Everybody's running in the big race and having a good time. Who am I to cast a shadow? Who am I? I looked death in the face last night. I saw him in a mirror and he simply smiled. He told me not to worry. He told me just to take my time. We close our eyes and the world has turned around again. We close our eyes and dream. Another year has come and gone. We close our eyes and the world has turned around again. We close our eyes and dream.
Should we do another song? You sure? All right. We're gonna do one with all due respect to the earlier part of the presentation. We're gonna do our bluesy version, John Avila version of. Go ahead, John.
Get your snaps together. Come on. There you go. Snap.
All dressed up with nowhere to go. Rocking with the dead man over my shoulder. Waiting for an invitation to arrive. Going to a party where no one's still alive. Don't run away, it's only me. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. Don't run away, it's only me. Don't be afraid of what you can't see. Chicago. Ooh, yeah, I was struck by lightning walking down the street. I was hit by something last night in my sleep. It's a dead man's party. Who could ask for more? Everybody's coming. Leave your body at the door. Leave your body and soul at the door. It's a dead man's party. It's a dead man's party. Woo. It's a dead man's party. 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 Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jose Huizar and the City Council, thank you so very much. So wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Oingo Boingo, thank you for not only today. This is a real treat to give to some of your hardcore fans who made it out today to City Hall Chambers. But not only that, it goes to show that the arts are alive and well in the city of Los Angeles, and bands like Oingo Boingo is where they established that and carried on the tunes, the mixtures of different types of music, the mixtures of different types of people, and that's what Los Angeles is all about. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the city of Los Angeles, may I present to you this resolution from all these wonderful council members that we're grooving with you right now. A resolution declaring today Oingo Boingo Day in the city of Los Angeles. Congratulations. One final thing, Mr. President. The band has graciously agreed to show up outside City Hall on the spring side to take questions from their fans and meet them. So if you want to walk out to the spring side of City Hall, Spring Street side, you'll be able to take pictures, and there's a question and answer session there. And last but not least, we thanked quite a bit Johnny Vatos Hernandez. I'm proud as well because he's an East Side kid from the city from LA, so a great connection there. Que viva the East Side, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations and thank you so much, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Walsh, if you could make your way down when it quiets, we'll go to item 2, but if you could start making your way down the center aisle, we'll recognize you when I get a little order. Okay, Mr. Walsh, item 2.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. Some new tweets up today at Hollywood Dems. This is number 2. It's very complex. It concerns always zone changes.
Hold your time, Mr. Walsh. I'm going to start it all over. Let me get you... treat you respectfully.
They are.
Okay, let's try it again, Mr. Walsh.
Okay. I'll try to be a little louder. Number 2, again, it is a very complex change in zoning. Whenever they change zoning, it's not down zoning, it's up zoning. So you people in Sylmar whose children are hemorrhaging from the nose, they're going to get rid of you by turning Sylmar and the valley into an all-industrial zone. That's what, except for bars and nightclubs in between. Take a look at this zone change map, San Fernando, accompanying ordinance, Quality Act guidelines. It gives you a headache. Too bad the Sylmar people aren't here, but you're finding out about it as your children bleed from the nose from gas. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now I'd like to recognize Ms. Martinez for item 30. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call Patty Giggins to the table from Peace Over Violence. There's other members from Peace Over Violence as well. You guys can join as well. Thank you for entertaining us and Oingo Boingo. It's quite a treat, Mr. Huizar. He gets the Member of the Year award. I'm down with that. As you well know, item 30 deals with Denim Day. And what started as a single unjust court ruling has become an international movement. Today I'm proud to stand in support of Denim Day with my colleague Mr. Bonin and Mr. Harris Dawson. When I look at the statistics on sexual assault, I'm amazed that 1 out of 3 women around the world will be raped, beaten, coerced into sex, or otherwise abused in their lifetime. 54% of all rape cases go unreported. And only 1 out of 4 rapes ever leads to an arrest. And it's more than just a woman's issue. 1 in 6 men will experience some type of sexual violence under the age of 18. Sexual assault on college and high school campuses is on a rise. The best data that we have suggests that as many as 1 out of 4 in every woman will experience a rape, attempted rape, between the ages of 16 and 24. Unfortunately, these statistics are difficult to verify because so many rape cases continue to go unreported as crimes. Many victims will never report the incident to police, much less to their campuses. But there is something that we can all do to help prevent this. I believe that we need to teach our children in a very early age that the importance of being in a respectful relationship and prepare them for the future in their college years. Post-secondary schools also play a unique role and can create a position in a lot of our campuses where there is a culture of respect, not only to students but also to faculty and staff on each of these campuses. Our children deserve to live free of the threat of sexual assault and an environment where they feel safe enough to tell someone if something happens. We need to ensure that we support a healthy environment that protects and supports all of our students. If we want our children to grow up happy, it is important that we teach them the importance of consent in a healthy relationship. And although Denim Day falls on April 27th of next week, it also happens to be council recess, so we're not going to be in session. So I wanted to take the opportunity to not only relay the importance of Denim Day, but invite our friends to talk a little bit about what they're doing and encourage all of you to wear denim on Wednesday, April 27th. And while this action will not stop rape, it will show the victims that this will not be tolerated and that we stand with them in solidarity. I'd like my colleague, Mr. Bonin, to say a few words, if you may.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. I appreciate your leadership on this, and I appreciate everybody's continued participation year after year in this. It has always struck me as particularly shocking and horrifying, that 1/3 figure. It's an unspeakable number, and the more attention that we can bring to the situation, the better. And it has always been, I think, important for the City of Los Angeles to play this role in promoting Denim Day, and I look forward to our continuing to do so, and I want to thank you for what you're doing to help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Mr. Harris-Dawson?
Thank you so much, Ms. Martinez, and members for bringing this. I think it's very appropriate that you all are here on this particular morning. I sat and was moved by the eloquence of Councilmember Krikorian as he talked about the Armenian genocide and personalized it. It allowed me to reflect. I'm sitting here as the great-great-grandson of an American slave, 100 million people in the African Holocaust. And then I looked over at Patty, and I was like, we have an ongoing problem right now. There's trafficking, there's sexual assault, there's rape. Half the time it gets denied, or never even there's never acknowledgement that it has even happened. And so I really want to stand and articulate my appreciation for all you all have done to popularize and connect with everyday people about the problem of violence in the home in particular, and sexual violence. And so, again, thank you, and anything that we can do to help bring that movement forward, we're signed up and ready to go.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Patty Giggins from Peace Over Violence, and you have a special information to share with us. This year you're focusing on the rise on campus sexual assault cases. That is a growing issue among our country. So I'd like to welcome Patty Giggins. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's great to be back to talk about Denim Day, which is next Wednesday, April 27th, but it's great to be here on Oingo Boingo Day. This is the 17th year of Denim Day in LA, Denim Day USA, and now we have gone international. And we are gearing up for next week all around the country, and particularly here in Los Angeles where it all started. And we've been promoting the message that there is no excuse and never an invitation to rape for 17 years. And I started Denim Day after seeing the protest in Rome by Italian members of parliament who wore jeans after the Supreme Court overturned a rape conviction of a lower court of a 43-year-old driving instructor who assaulted a 17-year-old student. The judge said that since her jeans were too tight, he wouldn't have been able to get them off without her help. Therefore, it wasn't rape, it was consensual sex. There was an outrage in Italy, and the female members in parliament wore jeans in protest. And when I saw that on TV, I felt we all should be outraged about all the myths, lies, and excuses that are told, promoted, and sustained. While sexual assault can happen across the lifespan, the most vulnerable age is between the ages of 13 and 26. For so long, it was really hard to get people to talk about sexual violence. Families and communities didn't want to talk about it, and neither did schools. Finally, we're talking about it through the efforts of the White House, through films like The Hunting Ground, which expose sexual violence on college campuses, and through our partnership with Guess and the Guess Foundation, our sole fashion sponsor of Denim Day, and which is now going on in Rome and in Barcelona, all throughout Canada. Guess is an international company, and they have 220 stores around the world, and they're promoting Denim Day everywhere. And of course, the leadership of LA, our flagship city for Denim Day, and the leadership of this council over these many years. More and more survivors are feeling empowered to come forward, and their voices are being heard. The paradigm is shifting, and I don't think we'll ever be able to go back to having rape and sexual violence be the complete hidden taboo subject that it has been. But we still have a long way to go. Prevention education is the key, and that's why the Denim Day campaign has been so successful. In fact, it's become a movement. Last year, more than 10 million people registered to wear jeans with a purpose. Due to the partnership with Guess, we're able to reach more and more as Guess educates their customers and sends the message that sexy is not an invitation to rape and violence is never in style. Denim Day is about all forms of sexual violence: child sexual abuse, sexual assault, sexual harassment, rape, and how they connect to teen dating violence and domestic violence. Peace Over Violence is extremely grateful to be partnering with Metro on their off-limits sexual harassment campaign to make transit safer for all of their passengers in Los Angeles. There is a plague of sexual assaults on college campuses, however, in the schools, military, and religious institutions. Denim Day is a call to leadership. As President Obama has said, it's on us to change it. The purpose of Denim Day is to support survivors, to stand with survivors, to end the blaming and the shaming, to promote healing and the very idea that healing is possible and that people who are traumatized can recover from that trauma if they are allowed to and they are not re-victimized over and over again. The goal is to educate ourselves and others, to prevent it through education and changing the climate that ignores, denies, or minimizes it. The city of LA was the first to declare Denim Day, and it's through these kinds of efforts that have brought rape out of the shadows. So April 27th, next Wednesday, we'll be having a press conference. We hope everyone will come. You know, you're on recess. We're going to have a press conference and rally on the steps of City Hall. This year, we are focusing on consent, and with the new California law on affirmative consent, there's a lot of educating to be done. Our spokescouple for Denim Day is Maya Jupiter and Aloe Black, artists and entertainers and musicians. And they are totally outspoken on this issue. Maya has created a video about consent called I Never Said Yes. She was inspired to write this music and create the video because of the documentary The Hunting Ground and the Denim Day movement. It tells the story of students wanting to make changes on their college campuses. And we have a copy to show you today.
Cover-ups, naive, sitting ducks. Presidents have run amok. Presidents don't give a fuck. Dollar is a king again. For profit over people, and it's women versus men again. I'm picking up my pen again. Rape culture everywhere. Blame the victim, they don't care. But we survive, we're disappearing.
had my music video cameo in that one. I'd like to introduce a staff member at Peace Over Violence, Melody Crispoden, who is the Youth Leadership Development Manager, and she's grown up through all these denim days.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you to the Los Angeles City Council again for declaring Denim Day in Los Angeles. I am also a native Angelino, and I first celebrated my first Denim Day when I was in 9th grade at Monroe High School in the Valley, when I joined a leadership club called Students Together Organizing Peace that was hosted by Peace Over Violence. And since then, my life has been changed. As I stand here 1 week away from my 12th Denim Day, and I look at my work today with middle school students, high school students, and college students, as now I get to be there as an advocate for them, the tremendous thing that stands out to me about this campaign is its dedication to prevention. To truly work to end sexual violence, it's not enough to respond to the case after case about which we hear. We must also start early and work to prevent sexual violence. Well, that's what I do at my job every day. How extraordinary would it be, though, if we could start early talking to every young person about respecting boundaries, about healthy, effective communication, and about consent. Consent that is based on choice and equal power and active, enthusiastic participation, as opposed to the old message of no means no, teaching that yes means yes. What would our society look like if we taught young people about gender equity and changing attitudes and beliefs that support violence occurring, instead of to just ask victims what they were doing or what they were wearing after an assault occurred? That is the direction in which we are moving, and I can't wait to see the progress we will continue to make. Not only did California distinguish itself by becoming the first state to pass an affirmative consent law, like Patty mentioned, but last year we also passed the California Healthy Youth Act, mandating sexual education for middle school and high school students that must include education about sexual assault and building healthy relationships. Because when students are supported and provided with the skills and tools they need, young people have the power. This year, here across LAUSD and all of Los Angeles, at schools like Berendo Middle School, Young Oak Kim Academy, Venice High School, and Franklin High School, among many others, students are gearing up to wear jeans on purpose, with the support of their teachers, administrators, and the district, which last week declared Denim Day in LAUSD. And all of that is why we need to continue to build communities, institutions, and policies willing to lead and meet students' needs. When we wait to talk about these issues until adulthood, we are too late. Like Patty said, the vulnerability is there. The barriers to students seeking resources and help is there. But so too is the power. Schools and other institutions must work together with students, take ownership and take action for us to live in a world free from sexual violence. The City of LA and this City Council brings us one step closer. Thank you. Thank you.
We almost had a War of the Bands. Great video. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I asked for an aye vote in declaring April 27th Denim Day in the city of Los Angeles and urge everyone to wear denim next Wednesday, April 27th, and help communicate the message that there is never an excuse or an invitation for rape. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have some cards, Ms. Martinez, on this item. I'd like to call Mr. Walsh, Mr. Spindler, and Mr. Gus. If you please come forward.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Jay Walsh, confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. It takes real guts to get up here and speak against rape and sexual harassment. You have two people on this city council that were accused of sexual harassment, and also a staff member. This whole building is full of sexual harassment. And let me tell you, when a woman gets raped in L.A., the man, 90% of the rapists are drunk. And that penis that goes into the woman up her ass or in her cunt is from alcohol that you voted in. You have no control over alcohol. You vote every single alcohol license. It's as if Mr. Bonin's white gay penis was in the woman who's being raped, because he voted for the poison, the alcohol, because this cocksucker, Mr. Bonin, has never voted against a bill on alcohol. You all vote for it, and Ms. Martinez, you are disgusting. You don't vote. You vote for every goddamn bill.
He should talk to the council as a whole.
And then you complain when somebody gets goddamn raped when it's the alcohol. And you can stand up here and talk about how you're against rape, and the next vote that comes in, the next bill that comes in here, you will vote for the alcohol. That person will run over people, and he will stick his ugly cock up the ass or the vagina of a woman in the street, and you all, including the mayor, all of you fucking scumbags who vote for alcohol, it's as if Mr. Koretz's 2-inch penis went up, Mr. Krikorian's 2-inch
Come on, Mr.
I'm telling you right now,
Walsh.
I have the right under the Bill of Rights, and you said it, to say what fucking scumbags you are, and rape-friendly, including the worst one, the only one here with a vagina.
Mr. Spindler.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, I have to say something. You might have the right to come in here and say whatever you want, but you will not disrespect the guests that are here this afternoon trying to do something right by women. So you can get up here and say whatever you want to say. You have no right.
Wait a minute, Mr. Walsh, you're disrupting. You are disrupting this meeting. Do it one more time. Finish, Ms. Martinez.
I want to sincerely apologize for that. It's absolutely absurd that these gentlemen think it's okay to degrade women the way they do. I sincerely apologize to you and to any of the members that are watching on television. Continue the great work that you do. We stand with you. Thank you.
Mr. Spindler.
Well, let me refute Ms. Martinez a little bit further. Continuing with Mr. Walsh, why is it that the Los Angeles Police Commission Police Permit Review Panel continues to open nude dance clubs in her district?
He is not. What does that have to do, Mr. City Attorney? You have to stay on the subject, Mr. Spindler.
These are sources where they traffic and abuse women in these dance clubs.
Stay on the subject, please.
So why are you approving so many of these clubs that are abusive centers for women, prostitution, rape, child molestation, and human trafficking? Because you're a fucking hypocrite. And that's why they do this. That's exactly why I have a right to say it. This is a hypocrisy that this council would have the nerve on one hand to claim they're against rape, they're against human trafficking, and open up these strip clubs and grant liquor licenses all over the city so all these men can get drunk, rape women, abuse women, run over women, and traffic women.
Mr. City Attorney,
So you
you're not on the. He's not on the subject.
On one hand,
he is not on the subject.
Of engaging in activities and permits that lead to the abuse of women on the one hand, but on the other hand, you come into the council chambers and you have the nerve to tell us that you're fighting these things. That's a duality. That is a conflict of interest. The city's
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Your time's expired. Come on, Mr. Gus. Mr. Spindler. Mr. Spindler, your time is expired. You're disrupting the meeting. Come on, Mr. Gus.
Well, I am pleasantly surprised to see that these concerns of hypocrisy here have been raised. I have brought to Ms. Martinez's attention teenage rape victims who patrol for their pimps on Sepulveda between Burbank and Sherman Way. I have taken photos and I have provided them to Ms. Martinez's office. They have done nothing. And we're not talking about adult women. We're talking about teenage girls. And by the way, do you know how many rape victims' babies have been born in the Sepulveda Basin? 2. The state of California seized babies who were born to homeless teenage girls who were living and born in the Sepulveda Basin. That is rape that Ms. Martinez has done nothing about. It is there today. If you go there today on Sepulveda between Burbank and Sherman Way, you'll see it. It is absolute duality. You have done nothing about it. And now let's go back to what Mr. Walsh was talking about. The hypocrisy. Sexual coercion is rape also. And he is correct that we have 2 city officials here. And we have all been sued as a result. When you're a council member and you have sex via coercion, I don't care how much you say it was consensual. That's rape by coercion by a city official. That's rape. It is rape to coerce a woman into sexual conduct. Look at her sitting there holding his head trying to get Dion to quiet me. It is rape. Sexual coercion so that Jose Huizar would support Francine Godoy's political aspirations or career aspirations is rape. That is sexual coercion. It is rape by you and your colleagues. And let's not forget about the sexual harassment suit from Mitch Englander's office. How can you possibly sit here and say denim this and rape that when your own colleagues on our dime used city funds to sexually coerce, rape city employees? That's why you got sued.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Let us open the roll. You're disrupting the meeting to be last warning. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Mr. Koretz.
Unfortunately, I have some guests here who had to sit through that last little bit, but I want to recognize them. They were all here for the purpose of supporting our puppy mill legislation that removed the sunset from our puppy mill requirements. The folks that are here are Simone Reyes, Vice President of Social Compassion and Legislation, Katie Cleary, the Executive Producer of Give Me Shelter and founder of World Animal News, Jane Velez Mitchell, who we all know as a best-selling author and award-winning journalist and advocate for animals, Elizabeth Orrick and Sheila Kukan from Best Friends Animal Society, which has had a campaign against puppy mills for quite a while. And so let's give them all a big hand for being here. And of course, this item was passed on consent, but just for the record, since we passed our puppy mill legislation, 140 other jurisdictions across the country have followed suit and joined us. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cedillo, we're going to go to your item now.
Comment first, or just go straight to it?
Whatever you prefer. I do have some cards.
We have some advocates here. You guys ready?
Why don't we get Elsa? You want to hear? Let's Elsa. Is it Chagola? And is this a Francisca De La Rosa? Why don't you guys come forward? And we'll begin with you. Go right ahead.
Okay. My name is Elsa Chagoya. I'm the Executive Director of Inquilinos Unidos, United Tenants. And I'm here on behalf of the Renters Day Coalition. I would like to thank you, especially members of the Housing Committee, for working with us over the past year in uplifting and recognizing the daily struggles LA tenants face in meeting their housing needs. A special thank you to Councilmember Cedillo and to all of you for supporting our efforts to create stronger provisions for quality repairs and for moving forward with the establishment of a rent registry program. Today is the 3rd year anniversary of Renters Day movement, and while progress has been made, there is still much more that can be done to keep folks housed. Rents are continuing to rise, threats of evictions persist, and renters all across the city are feeling the squeeze. We look forward to our continued collaboration with each of you in the coming year to implement strategies that will keep LA housed and ensure that LA is a city that works for all renters. Thank you. The other speaker had to go because we have our press conference at 12:30. So thank you, though.
Thank you all for coming down. So if I could now get Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Dog. Please come forward. Eric Previn, are you here? Go on, Mr. Dog.
Wow, this is great. Third annual. My name's Zuma Dog, zumadog.com, ZUMADOGG, renter. And today's Renters Day. It says here to honor the majority of renters. Some ways that the City Council can honor, and I am going to be on topic. First of all, when I talk about all these liens and illegal seizures of properties, well, that hurts renters because then the owners, all these things they have to pay for, the fines and the liens and losing properties, it drives up costs for people that are still able to hold on to properties to allow rent. But then they lose the property of rentals and they become $1 million condos. So first of all, also driving up, the way you drive out business and jobs. You know, you put so much regulation, taxation, fines and fees and requirements on businesses, like with the extra vacation days now, that hurts renters because it becomes, jobs become scarce. The business owners can't pay as much. At the same time, you're driving up the cost to do operation for the low-cost renters through, again, the mafia corruption, through your housing department and building and safety, through the liens and fees and fines, and it's all a bunch of bullshit at the end of the day. And that's why the FBI is all over LA City Hall about this corrupt tactic. And so I really can't underestimate. And when also all the mom and pops and affordable things to eat in my neighborhood, Venice, for example, everywhere I used to go, the little mini marts where I could get my affordable things, well, they're all been driven out. You drive them out. And so now it's all these really expensive eateries that I can't even, I can't even afford to smell it, okay? So you're driving out mom and pop, low affordability, and Gil Cedillo hopefully has never loved me more because this is his message, and I hope that you people can become more business-friendly, less corrupt for the renters on Renters Day. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get Mr. Previn, and if he's not here, if I can get Mr. Gus, Mr. Walsh, please come forward.
Yeah. 1 minute only, please. 1 minute. Boy, what a surprise. Another pandering agenda item. You know, I was coming down here, and I want to tell you about affordable housing. I was coming down the 101, and I saw a property for rent. It was airy. It was close to all amenities. It had 101 freeway access. You know what it was? It was a homeless encampment on the side of Alvarado and the 101. That's what you do for people here. You build this very nice housing in the downtown, the Koreatown, or actually, I'm sorry, the Little Tokyo in downtown LA, and then you have it so that renters actually can't afford to live there. And what do? You allow housing to go by the wayside, and the proliferation of McMansions, holy cow, on Huston, Huston Street in CD4. It's small housing being replaced by multi-million dollar rentals. You know what? I'll take a second minute if you'll let me, because this is good. City Council, you just pander on these issues. You don't actually do anything about it. Why do you think that you have probably the worst homeless situation in the United States? You know, what was in downtown is now in Sun Valley or CD7, and you're just moving the homeless from this pile over here to that pile over there so you can supposedly get the Olympics. You're not going to get the Olympics. So I don't mind that you do something for Renters Day, but where's the action that goes with it? Where is the action? Where is the housing for these poor people who can't afford it? That's why they're living. That's where they're living, on the side of the 101. How about taking action, less pandering? You know what you want to do? You want to put Renters Day first and Oingo Boingo last. You know what? Move your celebrations to Saturday when it's your time. You're here for our issues. Thank you.
Mr. Previn, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Spindler.
Yes, thank you. It's Eric Previn from Council District 2. I appreciate the fact that today is the third annual Renters Day. It is an interesting concept because, of course, so many people in Los Angeles are in a rent position, And as those of us who are paying attention to the larger national numbers, the percentage of income that's required to cover rent in Los Angeles or housing is among the highest of any city in America, as Krikorian and the folks who are paying attention to those numbers know. It's a real problem. So though we are always trying to protect the rights of renters and ensure that there are affordable, reasonable places for renters to live, we have fallen down badly on this one, obviously. And I know that the mayor is busy, as we all are, trying to get development going, and nobody wants more development than Mr. Cedillo, and developers must be respected with an enormous amount of kid gloves here, because this is the critical piece. But none of those developers that I'm aware of are producing any rental housing that's really affordable, except for a few, and I want to stipulate right now that there are a few, and I want to thank Mr. O'Farrell for that one facility that I've identified. But we do have some problems in this space. And in other cities, it's worth noting, there is something called rent control, as the esteemed Mr. Bonin is familiar. This is where the government limits the amount of rent that can be charged so that the constituents can afford to live in the city. That's not our policy, or at least in very few places is that a robust program that's being adhered to. In fact, I think I read somewhere, and someone could correct me, the rent control in Los Angeles is almost, it's being either not eradicated, but eliminated, or it's becoming harder and harder to find those facilities. So I don't know. I mean, I'm very supportive of the folks who rent. We have a big district where a lot of people are renting. The average rent I heard on the radio is $1,400.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that we need Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Spindler.
John Walsh, tweeting at Hollywood Dems, renter here since 1976. If you move in here, if I move out, the next tenant, well, they can jack up the rent. But once the rent is jacked up, it can only go up cost of living 3 or 4%. So we have 100% rent control. When you do a good job, I am the first to congratulate you. Ms. Martinez, thank you for rent control.
Stay
All
on,
of you.
stay on.
And I'm telling you right now, I'm talking about renters. I'm talking you, and even thank you for interrupting me. Even when I praise you, you try to stop me from talking. It's excellent. Renters have a good deal in this city, except we don't want to pay for a share on the earthquake repairs. You do an excellent job, and I would kiss the feet of everybody up here for the job you're doing. I'm not psycho. I worked at LAUSD for a quarter of a century. I'm on pension.
Mr. Spindler.
Renters Day, my ass. What do you got? An LSAC crisis. What you do is that you put up so-called affordable housing, and it displaces more people out of rent-controlled apartments. You are approving record demolitions of rent-controlled apartments, and then the people become homeless because they can no longer afford it and get the vouchers. This is the same game. You shouldn't have Renters Day. You should have LA Renters Persecution Day, because that's what you're getting, is persecuted when you rent a housing unit in the city ran by the duality of the mafia, the building and safety, and the evil rent escrow program. There are good landlords, but they turn into cocksuckers to deal with you cocksuckers.
Let's prepare to, oh no, Mr. Cedillo, the floor is yours.
Members, thank you for staying attentive to these matters. Let me begin by just talking about the housing crisis that we have. We do have a housing crisis in the city. There's a need for 100,000 units of housing of all ranges, from market rate to affordable to special needs. Today, we have a focus on renters, and it's an appropriate focus. It's one in which 60% of the residents of Los Angeles are renters, and they are from all categories, students, new families, seniors, even city council members are renters. And it's a matter in which we have to apply the appropriate attention 60% of those who are renters are what you call burdened renters. That is, 30% or more of their income is focused on their rent and their housing. And as a result, then, their resources for their family and other aspects of their life, like gas, transportation, food, is limited. And so we're here today to acknowledge that struggle, the struggle of everyday working men and women in this city. I don't think that it's appropriate for people to diminish the desires, the aspirations, the hopes of renters. This is an initiative that comes from renters in the city. I applaud their organizations, I applaud their leadership, and I applaud their struggle. I also want to acknowledge that in the last year, something new has been happening, and those organizations, coupled with traditional institutional groups like the Apartment Association of Los Angeles, have worked together on various issues to resolve pressing matters for many renters. The retrofit comes to mind as one of them. At the end of the day, though, we must all come together to realize that we must build housing. And Mr. President, you know that I have been irritating with you on this matter, that I continue to push on the urgency for the House LA initiative, that all component parts of the House LA initiative are critical. We need micro units. We need to expedite the process. We need more windows for people to come. We need to utilize city properties. We need to acknowledge granny flats. We need to do all those things that are component parts of a broad strategy to build housing in LA. Until we do that, we will continue to have the crisis that we have in the city. There's a reason why people are living under bridges, in tunnels, on the streets of the city. And it's simply because we do not have enough housing stock, and we are not putting the resources and the intellectual capital that we have in this room, in these chambers, to address that matter. Until we do, this crisis will continue. I, on the other hand, however, have faith in this body, in its leadership, in its moral capacity to do the right thing at the right time. And today that is to honor the renters who are here, to respect their leadership, to respect their organizations, to do so in the manner that is appropriate and serious. And for that, I ask your support, Mr. President, and the support of this body. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I want to rise and applaud the movement that is Renters Day here in Los Angeles. The history of this movement, frankly, folks, the renters' rights movement, were it not for the renters' rights movement, we would have been in the situation we are now with homelessness probably 20 or 25 years ago. And so I can't say enough about them continuing to press the issue to us and to all of this city and this region's leadership. And lastly, I want to applaud Councilmember Cedillo for continuing to press the point for housing units. There is no solution to homelessness or any of the problems that we face without producing more units and producing them quickly. And so I appreciate him for always keeping that in front of mind, in front of discussion.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote. Mr. Koretz.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mr. Cedillo and echo some of the points that he made, that in addition to creating more housing, if we deal with abuses of Airbnb, if we deal with bootlegged units, if we deal with abuse of the Ellis Act, there are a lot of things we can do directly to help renters and maintain our supply of affordable housing. And in some of these issues, landlords are also cooperating, particularly on the issue of bootlegged units. So let's make this happen. Let's see if we can add 5,000 or 10,000 units to our stock by doing the right thing on all these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Let's now prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 18, Ms. Martinez.
I hope this goes a little better. Colleagues, today I'm asking that you support my motion requesting the CLA and the City Attorney's Office to report back on recommendations on how best to limit the deceptive practices of crisis pregnancy centers. These centers are facilities that often lack medical licenses, yet offer self-administered pregnancy tests and provide counseling based on the results. These facilities advertise implying a neutral approach and a full spectrum of services, but in reality they have an ideological agenda that they put ahead of women's health. And often these facilities advertise in church bulletins or on billboards in low-income areas targeting the most vulnerable. Often women might not realize that these are not licensed medical facilities and walk in looking for information on whether she is pregnant and what her options might be, luring women with the promises of services that they actually do not provide and actually delays care. Decisions around pregnancy are time sensitive and women need care that they are seeking for, and they should be able to do that in a location where they offer a full spectrum of services and not be there under the false premises of actually doing something that would prevent her from making her own decision. Women's health must be respected, and we must not be lied to when we're looking for healthcare options. Members, I ask for an aye vote and that we continue to take the first step to ensure that women's reproductive rights are respected in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Let's prepare to vote. Members, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
We're going to now move to item 31. Mr. Spindler, Mr. Gus, and Mr. Walsh on item 31. Please come forward. Item 31, please come forward.
Because their predicament just isn't enough.
$50,000 reward for what? Ain't nobody gonna find no killer for a lousy $50,000. You have to identify, apprehend, and convict the killer to get a lousy fucking $50,000? That's a bunch of cheating bullshit. So I say vote no on this item. I've seen this before. You got to make it 500,000. Then the bounty hunters come out. The bounty hunters know how to find the killer, but they want $500,000. They're not going to do this for a miserable $50,000. What do you think this is, 1978? This is 2016, fool. Ain't no nigga in the hood gonna take that for $50,000, fool. Make it $500,000, fool.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh tweeting at Hollywood Dems, J. Walsh Confidential. You know, I've been coming here since about 81, and this is another reward. How much is your life worth? $50,000? Because if you have any information concerning the murder of this guy, and you go to the cops will rat you out to the drug dealers, and the drug dealers will murder you. And I've said again and again, and maybe Ms. Martinez will stop the meeting and correct me on this, you have not paid out one single reward in the past 15 years for somebody who was murdered by a gangster. Not one goddamn reward. You are all jerking off. And the biggest jerk off is, of course, Mr. Bonin. Of course, that's his thing. I'm telling you, and these swag bags up here, look at all these red bags full of hundreds of dollars worth of swag.
Mr. Gus.
Yeah, okay. So, to anybody who's thinking about providing the city information about this murder, I will remind you that it wasn't just a couple weeks ago that the city went into closed session to try to not pay a $70,000 reward. That was a double murder. So if you have information, this city council will do everything it can to not pay or pay only a tiny amount. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, the city went kicking and screaming to not pay for somebody who helped it prosecute a double murder. But in this case, there's a personal issue going on here. The victim went in and out of a liquor store several times prior to being attacked by 3 people. There were other people in the vicinity, and nobody else was attacked. And nobody said anything. Don't do it. This money is taxable. It's not enough to save your ass if you provide the city information. It's in the LA Times. Don't do it.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
So remind me that they get Latino stars to let me know. See if I know the band.
Let's go to item 29. Mr. Dog on item 29. And Mr. Walsh. No, Mr. Walsh, I'm told you don't have time. What about Mr. Spindler? So it's, I call him Mr. Dog and Mr. Spindler. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Zumadog, zumadog.com. You could read more about this at zumadogg.com. Rent escrow, REAP. Now, we have Renters Day today, and this does relate to that. Now, first, before I run out of time, I'd like to have you put an amendment. And as much as the owners have corrected the REAP violation and provided proof of compliance with the Housing Investment Department, I'd like the amendment to be, and send a copy of proof of compliance letter to property owner. Because here's what happens, and here's the number one problem with REAP, and I've spoken about this for time and time again. And by the way, there is a Superior Court case, class action lawsuit. And it's the biggest nightmare City Council has. It could literally crush the city financially. And the FBI investigation, interviewing witnesses who have been burnt by the program and interviewing people that work for the department. So what happens is the city sends out the thugs. If they need a property, now the city now is all about getting rid of the rentals and turning them into $1 million condos. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 properties that might have some renters in there, low-income renters. So you send the inspectors out, and you start to put the different things they have to do to comply. It's just, like when, before you know it, you can't comply. And then even if you do comply, well, then you still cannot get off the hook from the RICO racketeering mafia. I saw Goodfellas, and I learned everything I need to know about City Council. Hi, Fuentes Cedilla, how y'all doing? I learned everything I need to know about the City Council by watching mafia racketeering meetings. And so I'd like you to make that, but here's the thing. Here's City Council, here's what you need to do. And I'm trying to be advisatory, so out of this I'm going to say you need to have the department send proof of compliance letters to everybody of the past 3 years who has complied, because the properties are being taken away illegally. Thank you. Zumadog.
Thank you. So if I could get Mr. Spindler and Mr. Muhammad, Oscar Muhammad, please come forward.
Speaking how the renters are with the escrow today, said if the city officials come by there and your house is not up to beautification par, they should file a lien on your property or else, and you need some repair around your house, and they will file a lien on it if you don't serve it. But we have a law that the city and our leader and our city councilman, they are obligated to give us the access to beautify our house with. But they don't give it to us. They send it the material another direction. Because I looked in the history of Russia. Russia give their citizens everything for them to repair their house and beautify their house. In Russia, they have free health care. They free personal hygiene. Things what we supposed to be getting here, but we don't know it, and we don't receive it. But y'all know what we should get, and you keep it in your pocket. You don't tell us about it. And they put a lien on our house, and they kick us in the street and resell the house. And instead of selling houses for the tax value on the house, y'all put the tax thing in the damn bidding things. You're a criminal or the worse.
Mr. Spindler. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, we'll go to item 1. Mr. Dog, Mr. Previn.
Yes, here's something that caught my attention. Zumadog, zumadog.com. Office of Finance report requesting approval of liens against taxpayers for unpaid taxes. Now, this isn't liens against housing, and this brought up an idea. Now, there's only one on here for one company for $36,000. Now, I've been coming to these meetings for 10 years. This is like about the second time I've seen you go after unpaid taxes. What I'd like to say here, and I think the people of Los Angeles would like to say, why don't you have the City Finance Committee come here and give a report of all the top business owners and billionaires that owe the city unpaid taxes? Because the people sure get their fines and fees and taxes collected, okay? But then you got these parking garages that get to do business in the city that owe the city like $40 million, and you guys never collected. And I'm here to say, see Goodfellas, see Rico Racketeering Mafia, okay, and the billionaires and all the big businesses that you let off the hook for, before you know it, they're contributing to you. But so let's make it fair and neutral. Let's have the Finance Committee come in here and present a report to council of the top people that owe taxes, and then get some of that, and then some of the people of my level can have some ease.
Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Spindler. Now, Mr. Dog, you come on now. Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Spindler.
Thank you, sir. I believe it's a 2-minute section. It's Eric Previn from the CD2, and this is the Office of Finance, we were celebrating last week. They were up in Mayor Bradley. And Claire Bartels, very nice new leader. They levy taxes, and when you don't pay, you get a lien on your property, like Mr. R. Mitchell, Inc., for $36,000. We're collecting. We're trying to put a lien on the guy. We don't provide documentation to support what we're doing. I just talked with Knight, who has a misunderstanding about the California Public Record Act. I've asked him to go back and check on that. Mr. O'Connell certainly knows that you have to provide what you're charging the guy with and for what purpose. This is ridiculous.
Stay on the subject.
Number one. Number two, Mr. Weintraub in my district has not paid his POT for several years. We want to see that.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Thank you. You've been warned twice. Come on, Mr. Spindler. No, you're off topic. You're off topic, and now you're disturbing the meeting. You're disrupting the meeting. Come on, Mr. Spindler.
Fine company, R. Mitchell Incorporated. Yes? Cancel the goddamn lien for $36,000. Look at his name. Mitchell, the name of power. Why are you goddamn hurting this poor little corporation? All they did was try to open a business here, and that's a goddamn mistake. They're just trying to be good business people. They shouldn't pay you a fucking dollar. $36,171. Thank you, R. Mitchell Incorporated, for not paying this goddamn corrupt city $36,171, because every dime they get in here, they goddamn use it for corruption. So don't pay it and cancel the lien. Thank you, R. Mitchell. Say what I always say, R. Mitchell Incorporated. Fuck the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you. All right, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, we have a request to reconsider item 6.
So let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
And that's to continue it?
Yes, sir. Continue to Friday, the 22nd.
Thank you. So now we are what, at public comment?
Yes, sir.
So I'll call on Bill Huey, Candace Graham, please come forward. Please come forward. Followed by Mr. Previn.
Good morning, Council President West and member of City Council. I got 1 minute, so I'm going to talk fast. I don't know if you know, but in Minnesota, the courts ruled SCEP inspections illegal because it violates the rights of renters' privacy. Now, the City of LA, we do SCEP inspections here, and inspectors come in looking for the most minute code violation to put people in REAP. I've got this documented on the internet. I'm the president of a landlord association. Some of our members want to start running radio and TV commercials to make renters aware that they should sue the city and make a lot of money. Can you imagine if you get hit with 50,000 lawsuits? You know, I believe the city should take immediate action and put the brakes on these SCEP inspections until this thing can be settled in the court, because it could cost the city unbelievable amounts, maybe hundreds of millions, maybe $1 billion. If anybody wants to look at that story, it's in the AOA magazine, the April issue. You can look it online. You can write to me at billhuey@earthlink.net. I'll send you the PDF file. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, and after you, we'll have Mr. Previn and Mr. Spindler. Yes. Yes. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Apartment Owners Association and the Fair Housing Association, I'm here. You guys all know me as a civil rights advocate, so my voice is barely getting back. It's a very strong thing. You guys are incredible. I look up to you immensely. Mr. Cedillo, Mr. O'Farrell. I was one of the girls that took actually the Armenian March. And so I took it very, very serious. It is something. Civil rights violations is just that. In the city of Los Angeles, we have roughly over 700,000 different tenants and property owners in this city. And so we have to find a medium. You guys are losing that bet. And a lot of the things that I saw that you guys are going after isn't necessarily going to break the bones. We are going around to each city council member to speak with you to avoid lawsuits and loss for the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you very much. So if I can get Mr. Previn, Mr. Spindler, Mr. Gus, and Ms. Ramirez.
Yes, it is Eric Previn. And I would like to address my remarks to Andrew Westall, who is slinking over there on the corner by the door. He's the guy who you work with on rules, sir. And Mr. Westall has been well aware since the Van Nuys meeting several weeks ago that there were irregularities in Studio City. We won the election fair and square. Well, that's a strong word, but without cheating. And then there was a provisional vote count, which was taken, and we won. We just simply won on vote count. Darren Martinez, the lawyer who defended Lisa Sarkin from city attorney in a recall hearing a year ago, wrote up some changes, some funny language that Westall's well aware of, and they held a hearing without any of us present, unbelievable, and then prosecuted us for electioneering, which was wildly false. They invoked a witness from LAPD who is furious and going to come down and make it clear he did not agree to witness that. It's a lie. So, sir, we are in deep, deep trouble if you try to certify this election. Now, if you guys are clear, you will do the right thing and simply say, this is not our system. We can't do that.
Thank you, sir. So if I could have the next, Mr. Gus, Mr. Spindler, Ms. Ramirez, Mr. Dog.
Yeah. So my new article in City Watch LA talks about that garbage that Joe Buscaino was spewing the other day. It's called Dishonorable Mentions at LA City Council. You were celebrating the 100th anniversary of Franklin High School, and you mentioned its well-respected alumni. It's well-respected alumni like Mr. Hernandez. Do you remember Mr. Buscaino and Mr. Cedillo? Do you remember what Mr. Hernandez did 20 years ago? He was busted buying cocaine in a city vehicle by Channel 2, which wasn't as bad as the cocaine residue he had on his desk and the pornography in his office. That's Mr. Cedillo's and Mr. Buscaino's honored, well-respected alumni. What about Lee Baca, who you honored? The convicted felon who's about to be sentenced to prison? That's Mr. Cedillo's well-respected? Remember Rocky Delgadillo? I'm going to finish this up on Friday. You honored Rocky Delgadillo and Daryl Gates and Bobby Riggs? Bobby Riggs?
Thank you. So if I could get Mr. Spindler, Ms. Ramirez, Mr. Dog, Mr. Walsh. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Mohammed. Yeah, let's delete that.
Vote no on Mitchell Englander for Board of Supervisors. Do us all a favor. Scumbag didn't show up to 2 committee meetings yesterday. The one with the hood was here at the Plum Committee. The one with the hood was upstairs at the Ad Hoc Special Jobs Committee. Where the hell was Herb Wesson? You don't give a fuck about jobs? We were talking about jobs. You can't create a fucking job. None of you can create a fucking job. You people can't be trusted with nothing. You want to honor a singer? Alice Cooper, why trust you? You never made a dream come true. You're a bunch of fucking thieves. Vote no on Mitchell Englander. No on Janice Hahn, also, that scumbag running for the supervisor board. And finally, recall Krikorian. Sign the petitions and get rid of him.
Thank you. Ms. Ramirez, followed by Mr. Dog, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Mohammed.
I don't know who Oingo Boingo is, and listen, I prefer the Beach Boys, the big bands, Barry White and Luther Vandross, and of course, Boston. Thank you. I'll stay with those wonderful artists. Having said that, I just had the wonderful Sergeant of Arms pass true and correct media. The great El Jefe, Donald Trump, and Sheriff Arpaio, and the Governor Jan Brewer, God bless them for standing on the rule of law. They stand on the rule of law and the Constitution. And so having said that, I am looking at the Globe, March 21st, 2016, that talks about Donald Trump revenge and exposing the truth about the other incumbents and the truth about no amnesty for illegal wetbacks and gangbangers. What the truth is, Americans don't want wetbacks and gangbangers and these racist hate mongers. They want them deported. That's what Donald Trump is going to do, deport the goddamn mothers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dog, Mr. Walsh, Mr. Mohammed.
You know what? Thank you, Zumadog, Zumadog.com. You know, when I was with my colleague Eric Garcetti at the Bill Rosendahl event, when both of us were speaking on stage together, he said, "Boy, Zumadog, I remember the day when you were the extreme gadfly. You love me now, don't you? You love me now, don't you?" Now, Herb, as long as you're sitting up there and we're talking about the FBI investigations, I want to talk to you about the Building and Safety Department. I was at the Venice Neighborhood Council meeting yesterday. Let me tell you, here's the problem. It's called selective enforcement. I guess word on the street in the city of L.A. is just get a permit and then do whatever the fuck you want. Just who gives a council a bunch of fucking puppets? We run them. We're going to take this thing and blow it up way bigger than we're supposed to. You're being made jackass clowns made up by the developing industry because they know you don't got nothing to enforce your bullshit. So listen, you need to put the brakes on issuing all these giant mansion permits because you're being made jackass clowns. Everybody knows you can't do shit to enforce the city.
Thank you. So if we could bring up Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Mohammed.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. These red bags, these are swag bags. You see them up here? This is a contractor. The bribes are right there on their table. There's a $600 wristwatch in each bag. They have taken the wristwatch out. Some of them have been smart enough. Look, the bribes are sitting there. And I think we should take it and shove it up the ass of the LA Times because see the bribes? Open the, what do you have in those bags? You're not going to talk about what you have in your bags. 90% of all rapists are drunk when they rape. And you vote 100% for liquor licenses. You can call me anti-women all you want, Miss Martinez. Give me one goddamn sentence off this tape where I said anything except in defense of women. And the Brown Act says that you cannot stop the meeting and allow her to
Stop you right now. Your time is up. Mr. Mohammed, it is always a pleasure to listen to you, sir.
Don't do me like that.
That's the truth. Trust me. Go right ahead.
And say something
See, I just gave you 16 minutes. Now go ahead.
No, but anyway, I thought in history back in the late 1800s that the Congress had passed a law protecting your property, and I think that law said that Congress cannot take your property because of that. Is that law still enforced today? But I thought we had to make laws to protect the people, not the laws to oppress people. But anyway, I was speaking about the socialist country with Germany and Russia, how their government supply their demands what they need, and here in America, in this free world, in this great advance of wealth, and we are more suppressed than they are. We don't get any duty from the government today. But we should end the homelessness on downtown Skid Row. And I was talking about in Spain, under 700 years, Spain was under the leadership of the Muslim, and they was African. and the Jews and the Christians lived there in peace. And the African taught the European people how to speak Spanish. In about the 12th or 13th century, they were eliminated. They had a genocide like the Turks.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Okay, that concludes public comment. Mr. Clerk, what is before this body? Could somebody help Mr. Mohammed? Mr. Mohammed, your time has expired. Okay, what is before this body, Mr. Clerk?
Council has motions for posting and
They're posted and referred. Mr. O'Farrell?
Neglected to request item 31 forthwith, please.
Without objection. Announcements? Any announcements, members? If I could get everyone to please rise for adjourning motions. If all would please rise. Let me go back to Mr. O'Farrell.
Mr. President, thank you. It is with great sadness that I ask that we adjourn today's meeting in memory of a great award-winning actress named Doris Roberts, who passed away this week at age 90. Ms. Roberts achieved much of her fame for one role in particular as Marie Baroni on Everybody Loves Raymond. For her work on this series, she was nominated for 7 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. She has a career total of 11 Emmy nominations and 4 wins. In 2003, Roberts received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Roberts' acting career began in 1952 with a role on the TV series Studio One. Roberts played Teresa Falco on Angie and later appeared as Mildred Krebs on Remington Steele. In 1961, she made her film debut in Something Wild and appeared in such films as A Lovely Way to Die, No Way to Treat a Lady, The Honeymoon Killers, Such Good Friends, Little Murders, and The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. She also appeared very briefly in the feature The Rose as the mother of the title character played by Bette Midler. Roberts' stage career began in the 1950s on Broadway, appearing in The Desk Set with Shirley Booth, Neil Simon's The Last of the Red Hot Lovers with James Coco and Linda Lavin, and Terrence McNally's Bad Habits. She starred in McNally's Unusual Acts of Devotion at the La Jolla Playhouse in June of 2009. In 2002, Doris Roberts testified before a U.S. congressional panel that age discrimination was prevalent in Hollywood. An animal rights advocate, Roberts worked with the group Puppies Behind Bars, which works with inmates in training guide dogs and assistance dogs for the physically disabled and elderly, as well as dogs trained in explosives detection to be used by law enforcement agencies. She was also active with the Children with AIDS Foundation, where she served as chairwoman. Ms. Roberts was very active in the Hollywood community, attending many social functions, was very, very accessible to her fans and friends, and I had the great pleasure of sharing a box seat at the Hollywood Bowl with her and her companion 2 summers ago, and she was just a really lovely, lovely lady. Ms. Roberts died, as I mentioned, this week on April 17th at 90, and is survived by her only son, Michael Kanata Jr., and her 3 grandchildren, Kelsey, Andrew, and Devin. She will be missed by many, but what a legacy of laughter and joy she leaves for everyone. May she rest in peace.
Okay, I'm continuing. I'm looking to my right. Now I'm looking to the left. I don't see any on the left. Members, this meeting is adjourned.